But when you don't actually give a shit about people or policy or anything besides control and your own self-interest, then you have to read off a teleprompter and you don't even give a shit enough to read through it a couple times to make it seem like you're enthused. You guys know I hate Hill Dog. I cannot wait for there to be a female president, a woman president of any color. I'm really excited about that. But this woman right here, I can't do it. I can't do it. She's a war criminal. She's a thunder cunt. And I feel bad. See, I try not to do the name calling thing on this show. I'm trying to really take myself a little bit more seriously. I know that maybe some people like that. Maybe some people don't. But I cannot stand this woman. Like, it's just, she's done so much damage to our country, the faith in institutions. It's awful. And Josh, I know you're out there listening right now, our video guy. I want you to use, for the thumbnail of this video for Instagram and YouTube, I want you to use a big picture of this face right here. You can leave this in the actual video right now because this is how the sausage is made. This silly, scared, like, look at that face. She looks terrified of the camera right here. And you're just like, I feel like that's how Hillary Clinton should look all the time in a perfect world where she's getting what she deserves. Let's send her to Guantanamo Bay. That's what I want to see, is Hillary looking like this, strapped to a chair in Guantanamo Bay. That would be beautiful, wouldn't it? Now let's hear what the almost president of the United States has to say from the Indivisible Guide, doing a little collab.
Hello, Indivisibles. I'm here to highlight something that is keeping me up at night.
Oh, no.
And I know this group really understands what I'm about to say. I know we're all focused on the 2022 midterm elections, and they are incredibly important. But we also have to look ahead, because you know what? Our opponents certainly are. Right-wing extremists already have a plan to literally steal the next presidential election. And
okay, let's stop there. Let's stop there real quick. Okay, so one thing, here's the thing, like, I not that I defended Hillary, right? Al Gore actually has probably the most credible threat of like a stolen election in our lifetimes, like, from what I can see. And here's the thing about Trump, right? Like, if you can't understand how Trump lost, because his fan base was very motivated, but the people that were so over his bullshit were equally as motivated, and there was more of them. That's how he lost, right? That's a reason that no one was at a Biden rally. No one gives a shit about Joe Biden, right? I voted for that weirdo, and I wouldn't go to see him if it was down the road. Nobody would. But Trump blew it so bad. He embarrassed himself so bad. And if you want any clarity on why I voted for Biden, I've talked about it numerous times in this podcast. Go back and you'll figure it out. I have my reasons. But one of the things he did before he was going to lose was he said, if we lose, it was fraud, illegitimate. It's not going to happen. If we lose, it was fraud. If we win, it wasn't fraud. It's like, okay, so you set the stage here. And now Charlie Kirk was even doing this on Twitter the other day with some other election, right? It's like he's already got these, like, if there's not a red tsunami, it was voter fraud. You're priming an audience, right, that is hearing what they already want to hear, right? Hillary Clinton and Charlie Kirk are very similar as far as like the niche people that are actually listening to them. Those people don't overlap whatsoever, but their niches, the tightness of their niches is very, very similar, right? So they're already priming their audience for claims of stolen election, voter fraud, all that shit, which is disgusting, right? And that's one thing about both of these people. People like Trump, Hillary, Charlie Kirk, right? It's not about the health of our country. It's not about the health of democracy. Charlie Kirk doesn't even believe in democracy. He thinks we should have some kind of like weird Christian nationalist dictatorship thing. But it's not about that. It's about them. I was even having this discussion with my mom today when I was driving her to the airport. It's like Trump blew it because it was about Trump. And the same thing. She makes this about her being a victim, the Democrats being victimized. And it's like, dude, could you not even if you can't see why you would lose right now, like same thing with Trump. If Trump couldn't see, and you don't, as a Trump supporter, can't see how Trump could have lost that election, you're delusional, right? And if you, as a Hillary Clinton supporter or one of the people that would watch this videos and actually take it seriously, if you can't see how the Democrats would get absolutely blown out in 2022 and 2024, then you're fucking delusional, man. I've got to tell you that. And this isn't me trying to be a dick. It's me like, hey, you need to get some help. Like the first thing you need to do is acknowledge there's a problem. If you can't see how Trump lost, you need help. If you can't see how Democrats will lose in 2024 and 2022, right? A red wave is coming. If you can't see how that would happen legitimately through democracy, well, then you're delusional, right? This is the guy Max Boot on Twitter. He always posts this crazy stuff. He's like, he has a Ukraine flag, the whole thing, and he was like, if the Republicans win the House and the Senate, then democracy is dead. It's like, you can't. Is democracy going to kill democracy? Like that doesn't make any sense, dude. Like if your party should your party just have a supermajority all the time? Like it makes no sense. And you're seeing that line of thought, which is just broken. It's a broken way to think. It's a broken way to live.
And they're not making a secret of it. The right-wing controlled Supreme Court may be poised to rule.
So she's undermining the Supreme Court, which is supposed to be a nonpartisan group. Now that's been for a while now. But again, that's another institution that does not agree with Hillary Clinton. So now it must be undermined. You see what I'm saying? And then now if it was a super, neoliberal, because they would make when it comes to big business and that kind of stuff, they would all decide the same. But if it was a more neoliberal Supreme Court, and then a Republican criticized the legitimacy of the court, well, then that would be treason, right? So you see how this hypocrisy here, that's what we do here, is we call it hypocrisy. We see it all the time. We're calling it out. And it's all over the place. That's why I have trouble making friends. Because you never know where I'm going to go with this shit.
On giving state legislatures, yes, you heard me that correctly, state legislatures the power to overturn presidential elections. Just think, if that happens, the 2024 presidential election could be decided not by the popular vote or even by the anachronistic electoral college, but by state legislatures, many of them Republican-controlled. But there's also good news in the face of this very real threat to democracy. Indivisible has long...
You cannot call everything a threat to democracy and then expect to be taken seriously. And that's the thing, like what she's saying right now could be 100% true. There could be a situation where state legislators that are conservative would not allow for election results they didn't like to be moved on and then call it fraud. It would be a whole thing. And that's very likely to happen. I'm not saying that's very possible. Like you've got some kooky motherfuckers in state legislatures, right? And the whole, like they could send over their electors. It could be a whole thing. And I'm really curious about all the ins and outs of that and the details of that. I really am. I'd love to have that conversation with you guys, right? That being said, you can't call every fucking thing a threat to democracy and expect to be taken seriously. You feel me? Like it's how many things has Hillary Clinton and people like her, whether it's Rachel Maddow, Nicole Wallace, I'm just calling women here, Chris Hayes, we can keep going, right? People on MSNBC, mostly. How many things have they called a threat to democracy, right? When in reality, Hillary, you wouldn't have even been the fucking candidate in 2016 if you believed in democracy with your silly ass super delegates. I don't remember what the delegate count was before voting even started in the primary, but it was like 300-0, you versus Bernie. So if you believed in democracy, Hillary Clinton, you hypocritical woman, lady woman, then you wouldn't have been the candidate in 2016. And you know who probably would have won? Bernie Sanders. But you preferred Trump over Bernie Sanders. That's the truth. And you don't prefer democracy. You prefer control. Like, let's just be very real about what this is. And you've cried wolf enough times where no one's going to hear this. You're also lost because you're one of the least popular people in American politics. You're one of the most hated people that you could lose to a game show host, lady, or a reality TV show host, whatever it was. It's embarrassing. And you keep coming out here like people give a and no one does, man. No one does. So it's interesting to see this. Like the hypocrisy is what we're here to call out. And it exists all over the place. Now, I'm a fan of democracy, right? So I can sit here and say that's not democratic on the left, on the right, whatever, it doesn't matter. When democracy is being circumvented, you can find me there, calling it what it is. And Hillary Clinton is not a fan or supporter of democracy. Fact. Yes or yes?
Launched Crush the Coup to make sure we're ready to defend democracy in 2024. They've put together a list of critical races in 6 key states and how you can get involved. Will you support Crush the Coup by donating to indivisible
This script
and
is so
state
bad.
legislature candidates? Each of these races is highly competitive, and your dollars could very well decide the winners and the winner of the next presidential election. This could not be more important or more urgent.
It sounded urgent. It sounded so urgent, Hilary, that you couldn't even take the time to memorize your script. You know, here's the thing about that too. I haven't had a script this whole time. Literally, my notes for this say it says Hilary and it says the link to this Twitter right here. That's it. That's my only notes because I'm operating from a place of giving a fuck. I'm operating from a place of principles, right? I know what I care about. I can pull this stuff right out of my ass. I know that you don't love democracy. That's very clear to all of us, right? It's not that hard. But when you don't actually give a shit about people or policy or anything besides control and your own self-interest, then you have to read off a teleprompter and you don't even give a shit enough to read through it a couple times to make it seem like you're enthused. It looks like a goddamn hostage tape. If you think that I'm more attractive than Ben Shapiro, then you should probably subscribe to this YouTube channel. I mean, what other political commentator has this kind of fucking bone structure? Really, let's be serious now. You have to look at these YouTube videos. You have to look at them. Do I need to say anything else? Watch some more of these videos. Subscribe, leave a comment, hit the thumbs up button. This is the only thing keeping me from having to have an OnlyFans. Just to survive. Watch some more content. Hit that thumbs up button.